If you guys are looking for cheap, fast, and reliable Madden mobile coins, go check out my new sponsor at MaddenCoinProvider.com and make sure to use my code RHA at checkout for 15% off. Yo, what is going on, guys? It's Relic here, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys the video that many of you have been waiting for. It is, in fact, the custom card tutorial video. So, the Earl Thomas 3 speed art that I did 2 weeks ago finally hit 100 likes, so thank you guys for that. I honestly didn't think it would hit 100 likes after it only got like 70, but then you guys stepped up to the occasion and made 100 likes. So for this video, I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how you can make a card that's like in this style, like this Doug Baldwin card you see right here. So in the description, there's going to be the download link to all the files you're going to need for this. So that means the font file and the elite template, this one. So it's going to include that in the description. So make sure to go check the description for those stats. But basically today we are going to be making a custom Peyton Manning card. So you guys are going to be seeing a picture on the screen right now. I haven't made it yet, but that's going to be what the final product looks like. But let's get started. So let's start by opening one of my old custom card templates that I could work with. So let's just start by, we can just use this Doug Baldwin one. Why not? We'll just close this layer, all these layers and stuff. But let's get started. So first, for every custom card we need to obviously have a player to work with. So let me just go hide all these layers real quick, and then we can start off. So right here, this is just the base elite template, guys. This is what you guys are going to be working with. And let me actually remove my watermark here real quick. But anyway, so since we're going to be making a Peyton Manning card, the first step is obviously to type in Peyton Manning here. So we're just going to do that real quick. Peyton and then Manning. So I almost spelled that wrong. So here we go. Okay, Peyton Manning. So he's a quarterback, obviously. So we're going to type in QB here. So for this, we are going to be aligning this. So vertically aligning means that the right side of the 99 is going to match up with the right side of the QB. And for this, just make sure you have show transform controls on. Hold the 99 and then click this, control click, and then you press this icon right here and it's going to move the QB over so it's perfectly aligned. So for this Peyton Manning card, we're just going to have it have +2 throw power and +2 speed. This is not realistic, but that's aside from the point. So that's where you type in the stats in the template, and if it goes over the box a bit, you can just take this, make sure show transform controls is on, and drag this little thing a bit over like this. So now it fits the thing. So now what you have to do is obviously you have to get a picture. So normally for pictures, what I like to do is I like to search up pictures. So for this, we're going to be Peyton Manning. So generally, when I search pictures up, I look for pictures that are over 2 megapixels, and I don't care about Peyton Manning's age right there. But I generally like to find pictures that are over 2 megapixels. So, tools, and then we're going to go with size, larger than 2 megapixels. So generally, these are the cards that I like to work with. But I already found a picture for the sake of this speed art. So we're going to go get it real quick in our pictures folder. So where is it? It should be somewhere. So right here, Peyton. So this is the picture we're going to be working with for the purpose of the speed art. So generally what I do is I use the magnetic lasso tool, and I'm just going to show you guys how that works. So basically the magnetic lasso tool is it's a selector, and it just hooks to the edges, so it can tell like the edges is right here. So it's going to be able to go glide through the edges real quick. And this is what I like to use when I'm cropping out players, because it's just the easiest for me to use and it's the most reliable. Sometimes I do use the quick selection when I'm extremely lazy, but when I'm trying to make a good card, the magnetic lasso tool is really what works best for me. I know some people like to use pen tool or something else, but if you guys have your own way of cropping a card out, that's fine. But personally, I like the magnetic lasso tool. So I'm gonna just speed this up because this is really boring to watch, and it's just gonna be sped up until this cropping has been done, guys. So here we go. just copy and paste. It's gonna bring up a new layer, and here we go. So let me just close the background to make sure it's cropped out well. So that looks pretty good to me. So now you have this player and you have the background. You're gonna want to keep it this way. So now what I do is I take both of them and I drag it into my custom card. So right here, we're gonna drag it at the very bottom. So right here, and try to center it a bit. So that looks pretty good to me. We're just gonna put this back here in case something needs to be changed. So let me just close these color corrections and these ones. So now this is what you guys are gonna be at now, because you haven't done anything special yet. So this is just the base. You've cropped out the player, everything. So what we're gonna do right now is we're actually gonna separate these two layers. So what I mean is, first we're gonna go to this, hit Control U to bring up this hue saturation thing. We're gonna bring the saturation all the way down so it becomes black and white like this. So you guys see, this is how it looks like right now. So next, once you've gotten this whole background black and white, and you have to make sure you don't move this around like this, it has to stay directly in front of the player. So right here, the black and white version, and this is the normal version. So this is how you can tell between the two. Now for this, now I like to add a layer style to the player. So this is the layer style that I generally like to use. So you guys can look at it. It's inner glow set at overlay to 80 opacity, 16 size. You guys can just pause the video right now, look at all these settings for inner glow. And I also like to do outer glow, similar thing, overlay, 75 opacity, 15 size. And just look at this, copy these settings exactly how they are. So what this setting does, it basically adds like a little glow. You guys can see outside Doug Baldwin, it adds like a little like a glow. It's not like just your normal outer glow, but what we're gonna do is we're just gonna copy this layer style and paste it to Peyton Manning. So the card doesn't look really good right now. So what we're gonna do first, we're gonna duplicate the Peyton Manning layer, the actual card, not the background. So for this one, we're just gonna hide the layer effects for this. Let me just go clear this so it's a bit neater. So for this, I add filter, blur, motion blur. So I add it at 0 angle, and I make it about around like 250 is perfect, because you can get that little motion blur in the background. But you guys are probably looking at this card and thinking, okay, so how is this anything close to what the Doug Baldwin card looked like earlier? Now let me explain. So this is how it looks like with the players alone. And the most important part to my custom cards is my color corrections. So what are color corrections? CCs are color corrections. They make a huge difference, and I'm going to teach you guys how to make it. So first, we're going to be using a 2-color mesh CC. So it basically changed the background to 2 different colors. So I already made one right here, but I'm going to show you guys what's inside it. So let's turn it on and see what happens. So you guys can see it's a bit green, it's a bit blue. But if you open the CC, it's really simpler. So first, I have brightness set up to 9. I just have that there, it makes it look better. And I add 2 gradient fills. So to add what's it called, a color correction, it's gonna be down here, right here, it's gonna be gradient right here. You're gonna see a gradient fill right there, so just add that. So once you've added a gradient fill, double click on the little thumbnail icon right here and copy these settings right here. So style linear 5.71, scale 100, just copy these settings right here. So this is going to be the color that's going to be on the left side of your card. So you guys can see if I close this, the left side of my card becomes black and white again. So we're going to have this be on the left side of my card. So if you guys want to edit the color of this, you know, make sure you have all these settings. And if you want to edit the color, just double click here. You can change this to any color possible. So for Peyton Manning, I'm going to do like a dark blue and an orange. I'm going to change this to orange. It's kind of a subtle effect, but it really does make a difference. So a good orange. This looks like a good orange to me. And now we're going to change this blue to a bit darker blue. And by the way, for the right side, this is what you have to copy for the right side of your gradient. So this is the angle, this is the scale, and I'm going to change this to a little bit a darker shade of this blue. So we're going to change this to a darker shade. So maybe like, it's a bit too dark. So maybe like right here is good. So that is basically the 2-color mesh thing. If you close it, you see it's black and white, but then it just adds a little subtle effect. And also at the top here, you can add the curves layer, and basically to add it, it's just right here, curves, and then you just drag this down a bit like this. But this is kind of optional. I just add it here to make it look better. But now we have this little subtle CC, but that's not the best CC. So the best CC that I like to use really often is this one right here. You guys can see how much of a difference it made right there. So this is actually going to be the CC that is going to be what makes your design look the best. So let's just open this. It's a pretty long CC. So let's start with the gradient maps at the bottom. So to add a gradient map, it's right here, and you add a gradient map. It's the option right here. So for these two gradient maps, this gradient map is just going to be a black to white gradient. It's just right here, the first gradient you see right here. And right here, this is going to be a kind of a black to a blue gradient. So you can just do this, and then you change this to a blue gradient like so, like this. So that's basically how you make the blue gradient. So you add two gradient maps right here, and what this does, it's just kind of like a gradient fill, except effect is kind of different. It's hard to describe. So next up is the curves. So this curves, how you make it is, I'm just going to close this. So for this, you add curves and you drag it a bit down like this. So this is how you make the curves, and just make it so the arc kind of looks like this on the graph. So that's the curves. That's the next one. So next one is another gradient map. This one is going to be a dark blue to a lighter blue. Trust me, blue is really the color you're going to be bringing out in this gradient, and even if you're doing it for a red thing, the blue really just helps. So next we add a vibrance layer. Now this is pretty straightforward. You add vibrance right here, and the vibrance is +17 +6 saturation. This makes all the colors a bit sharper, and just it looks a lot better. Next you add an exposure. So this is also straightforward. You just copy down these settings, +0.22 plus that long number, and then gamma correction is 0.87. This also helps makes things a little brighter and sharper. So next you add a brightness / contrast layer. Add the brightness to about 30, contrast to about 20. Just play around with it, see what looks best. So all of these were pretty straightforward. I explained to you guys what these do. So next one is color fill. So what you want to do for a color fill, just put a solid color. And what's it called? What you're gonna want to do is pick kind of like a darkish color here first, like you guys see in this one. You're gonna want to pick a color that's like this. And for this one, you're gonna want to pick a really dark navy blue. Trust me, it's a lot of blue, but it just looks really sexy. So those are the two color fills. Remember, just add a darkish like grayish color, and then a darkish blue color. So that's almost done. We're almost done with the CC. The last part you need to do is the curve. So we're gonna add one more curves layer, and this time instead of moving the arc down, we're gonna move it up. So I'm just gonna demonstrate right here. Curves, we're gonna move the arc right here a bit up. So instead of making it a bit darker and sharper, it makes it a bit brighter. So I don't need that because I already have one here. So now once you've got the CC, just group everything together so it's neat. So what you're gonna do with the CC, place one at around 25 to 28%, and place this one over the two color mesh above this little background, so it only affects this, because right here it's affecting the player as well. You want to put it over here so it's only affecting the background. Now what you want to do is duplicate this, so Control J or just right click and duplicate, and now you want to drag this second CC thing above the player layer and make this opacity to 72% or whatever it is. So basically this and this needs to equal 100%. So you add this over the player, make it 75%-ish, and you add this one. These two are the exact same CC, and you add this one underneath it. So now once you're done with this, you're going to want to duplicate your two color mesh CC that you made earlier and drag it above the player. So right here. So now you can really see the little orange and blue in the background that you're going to be able to see right here. And you guys can see Peyton Manning. I'm going to actually lower the opacity on the CC and raise the background one. So let's try maybe 65%, and then we're going to make this one 35% so it adds to 100%. I hope you guys are following me so far. Just feel free to pause at any point of this video if you guys need me to slow down or whatever. I can't really slow down, but you can slow down for yourself. So now this is basic, like even if it's just like this, that is already really hot. This card is actually already really sexy by itself, but we're not done yet. So we're gonna add some finishing touches here. So we're gonna add some flares to this image. I'm gonna use this zombie flare. This is one of my most favorite things to use, this zombie flare. It's kind of like a particle flare, and then it's just like it's a linear flare. So we're just gonna place this right behind the player. We're not gonna place it behind the motion blur player, but only behind the actual player. Like you can see right here's the motion blur layer. We're gonna place it in front of it, and we're just gonna position it kind of like right in the middle up here, and then put it over, and you guys can see it adds that kind of like particle effect back there, and the kind of flare makes things brighter. So now what you want to do is you're gonna add some smoke to this. So any smoke will work. You guys can just find some smoke in graphics packs. The smoke I like to use is this smoke right here, and we're gonna make sure we drag this underneath the color correction copy so it blends together. Like you guys can see the difference down there. It's bang, and then if you drag it before, you just add some more color to it so it blends with the image. And I also like to add this little colored smoke. Obviously I'm gonna have to change this to an orangish, because this is like a blue-green one. We're gonna have to change it, so change the hue / saturation up, and for this, that looks pretty good to me. So right there, that's what we got. So the problem with this card right now is that the background is kind of a bit bright, right? So what we're gonna do is, with this background layer selected, so right here, we're gonna press filter, go to blur, go to Gaussian blur. We're gonna add about let's see what 10 looks like, and that's a bit too much. We're gonna add about a 7 Gaussian blur right here, whatever you guys think looks good. All right, so we're gonna add a Gaussian blur right there. So now it's still a bit too bright, so whenever I want to lower brightness, I always add a brightness / contrast level. So we're gonna make this a bit like down like this. That's way too much, that's a lot. So we're gonna make it like just kind of like that, and I'll also gonna add a curves layer. And if you want to make things darker with curves, you just drag this down like this. So that's a bit too much. We're gonna do like this, and there you go. Now these two, without these two, it's a bit bright. Now with these two on, it's a bit darker, so the player can stand out more. So now with those things done, you've added the smoke, you've added the zombie flare. Now you're gonna add these flares right here. So these flares right here are really what make the thing. I like these flares a lot. I'm gonna drag these below the color correction copy, and I'm just gonna kind of position these pretty well. So this flare, this position is actually pretty good by itself, but you really just want to make sure that it's like barely coming in like that. Just play by the eye. Photoshop is really all about what you think looks best. Like I can't tell you what looks best. Everything looks different, you know. It just depends if you like it or not. So we're just gonna like kind of play around with these flares, and I will include these flares in the description as well, because it's hard to find these flares. So I'm gonna put these in the description. So now you've got this guy, and I'm actually gonna make the brightness even a tiny bit more down. So alright, yeah, so that looks pretty good. So now the last kind of touch to this is we're gonna add a vignette. So if you guys don't know what a vignette is, it's kind of where it's like kind of like black on the edges and like white on the middle. So to add this, we're gonna move this above all color correction, and we're actually gonna, this is what it's gonna look like. So it's gonna make it, so we're just gonna delete all these layers that I don't need right now to make things tidy, you know. So you guys have all these layers, and above the 2 color mesh copy and the CC copy, I'm actually gonna put this above here. So above these two, we're gonna add a new layer. We're gonna get our paint bucket, press X to switch to a black. It needs to be completely black, and fill it like so. So now it's all black. Finished card. No, just kidding. So we're gonna go to our brush. We're gonna click this soft brush right here. It's the very first option. We're gonna make it about like so it can fit. So maybe like 2,500. That's still a bit too much. Maybe like 2,000. So we're gonna make it 2,000, and oh, I'm on the wrong one. So we need to be on the eraser. Let's make it 2,200. We're on the eraser. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna place it around the middle right here, and just tap. Make it at 50 opacity, and just tap again. Tap again. And now we're gonna lower the opacity of this vignette, so you guys can see here, it just makes the player stand out a bit. And we're gonna lower it to whatever looks good. So, yeah, that looks pretty good. So we're gonna add it right there. And guys, that is basically the finished product right there. This is how you make a custom card. And I've made Boss Legends before. This is just like a really simple design, but it still looks dope. You guys can see. Hopefully you guys found this tutorial to be helpful. Send me some custom cards that you guys made with my tutorial on Instagram. I'm gonna look at everything. Like, you guys, just hopefully this was helpful. If this video hits 100 likes, I'm gonna make a tutorial on how to make a boss legend. So let me just go show you guys an example of a boss legend that I've made. Custom cards right here. So this is an example of a boss legend that I've made, Calvin Johnson. If this video hits 100 likes, I'm gonna make a tutorial on how to make something like this. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Please drop a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't already, and until next time, Relic out.